Today we're going to look at installing the carburetor on a Honda ATC Big Red. Same procedure on a 200S, ATC 70, basically they're all the same. So there's the carburetor there. So what you want to do first, you're going to want to take the seat off. When you take your seat off, you're going to want to remove the lid to the airbox, take the air breather off. You want to loosen, remove this, and take the gas tank off. To take the gas tank off, you're going to also, of course, when you're removing the carburetor, you're going to want to pinch off your gas line. And you're going to remove the choke cable here. Once this is all taken off, there are only two 10mm nuts that hold the carburetor on. And we're going to see how to install it on the other trike, which is up there, the one I'm resurrecting. So here's what it looks like with the carburetor off. Gas tank has been removed, everything's out of the way. Here's the choke cable, just move that. I keep saying on the videos I'm going to move this over here, but just get that out of the way. Okay, so you want to make sure your surface is all clean here. You don't want to have an air leak. It's going to give you a high idle, probably. It could burn a piston. So I just kind of make sure that's all clean. I'm going to get the carburetor, which you can get these real cheap. I'm talking like less than 20 bucks on Amazon, brand new. Some people still do rebuild them. I don't know if you'd really want to rebuild it, being as inexpensive as it is to buy a new one. But I'm going to make a video on cleaning it, rebuilding it anyway. So what I'm going to do is, I found it's easiest if I kind of tip the carburetor down, because the hardest part, let me swing this camera right over here. The hardest part is getting the boot, which is near the end of my thumb, over the part of the carburetor. Because there's not much room in there, and a lot of these old rubber is pretty stiff. It's pretty difficult to get it in there. So what I found after doing this a bunch of times is to kind of tip the carburetor like this up against the intake mount. I push back and I can kind of pop the first part of the carburetor in. Okay, it's in there on the boot. Now I can squeeze back on the rubber enough to get my holes lined up. Like so. Now I'm gonna loop this in here. Now, you see that it's moving for the choke, the little lever there. Now, originally, some of the other older designs and stuff, there was a clamp piece that went here and actually held this on so that your cable wouldn't move like that. See what I mean? If this was being held in like that. But a lot of these new carburetors are coming out with these Chinese ones, don't have it anymore. People lose it. So I'm going to show you how you can still operate it like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tie off a wire tie up and around here to hold it kind of in place. And that way when I'm operating the choke, it won't move. That's your way around it if you don't have the original piece. I'll show you on the other three-wheeler what that piece looks like if you still have it. But you know, in a perfect world we'd all have this stuff, but so many times we don't have it. So you see where the choke is here. talking about this piece here, which holds your cable in place. So when you actuate the choke, the cable doesn't move. So I'm going to wire tie it like this, maybe up and around the wire and harness. If I can get it to come out right, there we go. I'm gonna try this. There's always a way. Man, my hands are so cold, it's like 15 degrees out here. I can't get anything to move. There we go. There we go. Now I can kind of set that where I want it. Yeah, see? And now I can actuate my choke without the cable moving. I'll just put another one on it. To hold it extra tight. Again, it didn't originally have that, but you know what? In a perfect world, we'd all have all those parts, but a lot of you guys with these videos, you're not going to have these parts. So I show you, you know, there's the way of doing it that's perfectly textbook, and then there's, I don't know, the hillbilly way, I call it. And that's the way I do it a lot of times. So you get that on. I'm going to put the 10 millimeter nuts on here. I went and bought some again. I lost these after this thing was sitting for a couple years, and I just went and bought some ones at Tractor Supply for like $1. I mean, it's really cheap, and I got some that aren't going to come loose. They're nylon. So tighten that up. So once your carburetor's tightened down, you got to come over here to this side for a better view. This is the slide. As you actuate your throttle, see how that pulls? It pulls your main needle up and down inside the carburetor. Make sure this is all clean. The most important thing when you get to this point is you got to watch this groove that's cut here in the slide. You got to make sure that's on the correct side of the carburetor, which is the left side if you're sitting on the vehicle. This side here goes into another notch. You can see it as you look down in. So what I'm going to do is slide that down in there. I'm going to hold the cap down. Can't really see what I'm doing. I'm going to try to do it from this angle. So I'm holding down with one finger on the top. There, that's tight. It's got this rubber seal on the top, keep water from getting in. And then what I just do is I just grab my throttle. Feels good. Throttle feels normal. If you did it backwards, the throttle won't feel correct. So the carburetor's in place. All ready to rock and roll. Now I'm just going to set the gas tank on. Before I do that, set up right here. I'm going to put the fuel line on now, at least on the carburetor side, because it's a lot easier when the tank's off. So I'm just going to run it through there. There we go. It's all ready to go. I'm going to have to cut that to proper length. Let me just set the gas tank on the machine. There we go. Gas tank's on. I'll plug that gas line onto the selector cock. I'm going to switch it on. I'm just going to look for leaks. A little bit of seepage on the carburetor end. So I'm going to switch that to off. Tighten the clamp up around the fuel line. Okay, so everything's tightened up. The gas tank's back on. And I'm going to start it. Mind you that it's going to be very loud because I have not repaired the exhaust system yet. But let's just see if the carburetor works now that I've cleaned it up and put it back on the machine. Okay, so it is starting. Carburetor needs to be adjusted a little bit. I think it's running a little bit lean. It's popping a little bit. So I'll do that, and as I continue to resurrect this bike, I'll adjust the carburetor, get the rear axle back on, and then be able to drive it.